things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever home. Oh, what a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner. Is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner, is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Ripon Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests, are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Ripon Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
Multiverse broadcasting system initiated.
Lasers.
Multiverse connection established.
Lasers.
Hello.
Multiverse connection secure.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
This is My Life DIY, and
Hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my name is Ash.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Ripon Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to Dark Wolf's Den.
The Dark Wolf's Den Show on Ripon Common Sense Radio.
Are ghosts real?
We had 1,000 hours of continuous communication with the spirit world.
Does time travel actually exist?
The laws of physics seem to be compatible with time machines.
You know, sometimes I wonder about reincarnation. Don't you?
A 4-year-old boy in Adelaide, Australia, has told his parents that he used to be Britain's Princess Diana.
What would happen if the world found out that aliens were real?
I didn't say disclosure would be easy, but what is the alternative?
To establish a space force as the 6th branch of the armed forces.
We have so many questions and yet so little time, so to have you here, the pleasure is all mine.
Coming to you from a secret cave, hidden deep within the wilderness. This is the Dark Wolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and we are broadcasting live across the multiverse from a secret cave hidden deep within the wilderness of Tennessee. That's right. We're ripping through the electromagnetic soup, tearing through the atmosphere, and tunneling away into your radio like a quantum particle. This is the Dark Wolf's Den Show for Wednesday, September the 22nd, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to dig into the state of mystery of Indiana. From cryptids to UFOs and ghosts and so much more. All that coming up here in just a couple moments, but first, let's go over here and see who all we have in the chat rooms tonight, both on the Dark Wolf's Den Show YouTube chat as well as the Ripon Rabbit Hole YouTube chat. How you guys doing over here tonight? Looks like we have quite a few people. The Ripon Rabbit himself, Mr. AJ, over there with the first in the chat tonight. As well as Man Danny Mall says, hi, all hi, Man Danny, glad to see you tonight. Who else we got here? Raider Champion. Hey, Raider, dropping the musical link there for Wonderland. We very much appreciate that, Raider. One of my favorite songs, right? I know you guys absolutely love that tune. Who else we have here tonight? We got X-Gin in the house says, clutch went out. Ooh, sorry to hear that, X-Gin. Evening, fellow travelers. Need some thoughts on ether or some instinct cache. Don't know how to help you there, my friend. Alvy Yarder says, good evening. Good evening, Alvy Yarder. Glad to have you here. Sandy B in the house. Sorry I'm late. You are just in time. That's all over in the Ripon Rabbit Hole chat. In the Dark Wolf's Den Show chat room, JoJo's with the hello. Glad to see you, JoJo's, waving in there. Glad to have you modding over there for us tonight. Then we have Jerry Wolf, which actually happens to be Mr. Ral, our old friend Raleigh. Glad to have you, Raleigh. Michael Fontaine says, I'm here. Glad to see you, Michael Fontaine. Tommy Apples, howdy, fold. Oop, howdy, folks. Not a problem. I am the worst, especially on a phone keyboard. Howdy, Tommy Apples. Glad to see you. Errol Taylor says, hello, all. Hello, Errol Taylor. Always a pleasure. I'm so glad there's so many of you guys in the chat tonight. And it's both an honor and a pleasure to have every last one of you guys here. Whether you're listening on the radio, across the multiverse, or over on YouTube, we really appreciate every last one of you guys. And before we dig into the state of mystery of Indiana, we have two more segments to go. The first of which we call Today in History. How many of you guys knew that today is International Hobbit Day? That's right. I didn't until I looked it up, so happy International Hobbit Day, everybody. It is considered the birthdays of both Bilbo and Frodo Baggins, and this was first celebrated on this day in 1937, and that is today's segment of Today in History. And keeping with this theme of amazing fantasy authors, that brings us to our next segment of the day.
Say what?
Our quote of the day today comes from J.K. Rowling in the book Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. It says, and I quote, "We are only as strong as we are united, and as weak as we are divided," end quote. And I'm going to go ahead and read that again because that just feels really important. Once again, quote, "We are only as strong as we are united, and as weak as we are divided." Again, that is from J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. And that is today's segment of
Say What?
I don't know. I think that quote seems incredibly important. Maybe it's just me, but the authors of both of these, the fact of the day and the quote of the day today, both were fantasy authors and both wrote about large, amazing cryptid creatures. Creatures the likes of which you wouldn't think you would find on Earth. However, as we've went through our series of states, we figured out there are a whole lot more creatures than what science will admit to, like in the state of Indiana. And here to tell us tonight about Indiana's cryptids is our friend Ben Miller from the Ben Miller YouTube channel. Make sure you go check out his work.
For a state that is fairly landlocked, I was really shocked to see that many of the cryptids that are said to make this state home are actually found in the water.
So, interestingly enough, it seems we are carrying on our sea monster investigation as we head into the state of Indiana.
The first of which is one that has quite an interesting, albeit perplexing, stories. It is simply known as the green-clawed beast, and for good reason. On August 21st of 1955, two women named Darwin Johnson and Chris Lamble were planning on having a relaxing day at the Ohio River in Evansville. However, all didn't go as originally planned. Chris decided to lay on the bank while working on her tan, while Darwin chose to go into the river for a swim. After a while of uneventful swimming, Darwin was a mere 15 feet from the shore when she suddenly felt a hairy, clawed hand grab a hold of her knee. She screamed, as this unknown assailant was powerful enough to pull her under the water.
I don't know about you guys, but that already sounds pretty darn scary to me.
Meanwhile, Chris watched in terror as her friend fought for her life. Miss Johnson managed to kick away from the creature, but before she could swim too far away, it grabbed her by the back. Another fight ensued, and in a last-ditch attempt, Darwin leapt onto one of the inner tubes that the women had brought with them. Apparently the sound of the rubber hitting the water was enough to scare the creature away, since it immediately let go of her. Once safely on the shore, it was noticed that her leg was badly bruised, and strangely there remained a green print of a hand where she had been grabbed.
And it seems to me within a few weeks ago, we spoke of another creature who left that same slimy type handprint that didn't go away, and it was also of a green color.
According to reports, the green print stayed on her leg for about a week and couldn't be washed off. In some retellings of this story, there was also an odd residue of a slimy blue substance on her skin. It was later determined to be that of blue clay, which is only found in ancient lakes and volcanic ash. I have always wondered with this story if the green marks weren't actually bruising as well.
And you know, guys, upon thinking back, I do believe we did cover this particular one in the Sea Monsters episode. So I do think we've talked about this cryptid again. However, did you know that that may not be the only sighting of a cryptid like this?
This cryptid is known as the Mill Race Monster, and sightings occur around Columbus. This being is said to be between 6 and 7 feet, have green-colored skin, long claws in its hands, covered in green slime, walks on its back legs, and also has quite a bit of fur. At first glance, many may make the connection to this being a Bigfoot, but I have to wonder if it isn't the same creature that attacked Miss Darwin in the Ohio River.
And you know what? That's kind of fair because it doesn't necessarily have to be a creature that lives in the sea for it to be encountered there, right? It could be a Bigfoot who just went for a swim, right? I mean, I know that sounds ridiculous and almost humorous, but I'm dead serious. Just because the first encounter was in the water doesn't necessarily mean that the creature lives in the water, right? It very well could be a Bigfoot taking a dip. So let me know what you guys think over there in the chat. Do you think we have found ourselves a genuine sea monster here? Or do you think it's a Bigfoot or something else entirely? Go ahead, put a 1 in the chat room if you think this is a legit sea monster case. Go ahead, put a 2 in the chat room if you think, no, it may be a Bigfoot just taking a swim. Go ahead, put a 3 in the chat room if you're kind of on the fence and unsure. I'm going to be honest, I'm a 3 on this one.
Sightings of this creature started on November 1st in 1974, when a pair of women were walking in the Mill Race Park at 3 p.m., when they claimed that they saw this creature standing between 2 trees near the water's edge. It apparently lunged at them, but they managed to get away unscathed. On that same night, a woman named Terre was driving near the park with her friend when she stated the same creature attacked her car and left behind long deep scratches in the paint and also gave off a terrible smell.
And if you guys remember, one of the most common traits in Bigfoot encounters is that horrible smell.
These sightings were reported to the police, and once they hit the newspaper, people started to flock to the park to try to hunt the creature. Traffic became so bad that the governor actually closed the park to visitors during nighttime hours, and the police were posted to keep guard. Reports of this creature have been sparse, but apparently they do still occur, and the last known one was on October 10th of 2015 by a hunter. This very easily could be simply a Sasquatch, but I think some of the similarities between it and the green-clawed beast are very interesting.
And like I mentioned before, I'm not opposed to the idea that it is just another version of the Sasquatch, but let's see what you guys said over there in the chat. Remember, it was 1 if you think it was a sea monster, 2 if you think it was a Bigfoot, and 3 if you're just not sure. Errol Taylor says it is a 3 for her, or them. I dare not misgender. Catherine M says, hi, y'all. Hi, Catherine. I would dare guess that that is a she, at least based on the name. JoJo's says it mentioned claws, so 3333. Don't know about that one. And the Mandani Mallover in the Dark Wolf's Den Show chat says many animals take mud baths for insects, and that is a fair point, and that's exactly what I was thinking. Perhaps it was some type of mud bath, or even just going for a swim to cool off, right? Maybe they can breathe underwater differently than we would understand. Perhaps their lungs are much bigger, they can hold their breath longer and be underwater. I mean, there's so many what ifs there that would make sense to suggest that that would be a Bigfoot. Mandani Mall coming in with the 3, not sure. Sandy B with the 3, also very much unsure. And like we mentioned in the beginning, a lot of these cryptid creatures are sea creatures, including our next one on the list.
Another water cryptid is one that is found in Lake Manitou, and is called Meshakenebek, which is Potawatomi for Great Serpent. The lake that is found in Rochester is man-made and was created in 1827.
Raquel SSG over there with the 3. Glad to have you here, Raquel. Tommy Apple's also coming in with the 3. So 3s across the board on this one. Everybody quite unsure exactly how to gauge this. And I'm kind of there with you. I'm really not sure how to gauge it myself.
At its deepest point, it is said to be about 55 feet, but since its creation, the local tribes have always held the belief that it housed a monster, and as such called the waters Devil's Lake.
And I've said it many times before, I am much more apt to trust a Native American legend and what they say is going on a lot more than I'm apt to trust pretty much anyone else. So if the Native Americans say that there's a lake monster in there, there's probably a lake monster in there, at least in my opinion.
This creature is said to be around 30 feet long, had a very long neck with a broad head that resembled a horse or a cow, and its skin was dark with yellow spots. Many believe that this creature lived in one of the lakes that existed before Manitou was created. For many years, the Potawatomi tribe told stories of seeing this beast, and even back in 1827, when the lake was being constructed, The workers also had strange sightings.
So it's one thing if the Native Americans start making claims that there's a sea monster. Once again, I totally believe those claims. But it's another when even the construction workers are verifying independently these same claims.
Men from all trades claimed to see a massive creature rearing up from the water with its long neck, and then just as quickly diving under the surface. Among the townsfolk, these stories weren't really taken seriously, but more and more sightings kept coming in and opinions began to change. One of the most respected men in town was the blacksmith named Mr. Lindsay. Even he claimed to see the lake monster swimming around the lake with its head completely out of the water, appearing to be scanning the surface. Mr. Lindsay watched it until the creature submerged, and then went back to work, for he didn't feel the urgency in spreading his sighting. Most encounters seem to be of a non-violent nature.
And surprisingly enough, we have found that most cryptid counters at all tend to be of a non-violent nature, right? You don't hear about a lot of people killed by these cryptid creatures, right? All we really hear about is these cases like this one where the person sees the creature, but that's it. There's no like real interaction therein. Again, it's not like it's threatening or violent in any way. And it amazes me the amount of case files that we hear like this. With all these cryptid creatures that we cover, the majority of them tend to be non-violent.
But that could have changed when two brothers with the last name of Robinson set out to do some fishing on the lake. While out there, they noticed a strange disturbance in the water a ways out from them. Thinking it was a school of fish, they paddled closer to it. Suddenly, the disturbance started to head right towards their boat. The two men started paddling furiously to try to get away. At one point, they saw the creature swimming after them under the water's surface, and then it lifted its head out of the water. The creature caught up to them easily, but didn't try to attack. Since that time, many people have come back saying the monster did flip their boats. Or, in even scarier tales, apparently a lot of people have gone missing on the lake.
Okay, so again I say most encounters. There are these one or two that do in the other way.
From what I could find, sightings were sparse, but they continued up until the 1950s. Some have theorized that it actually might have been a paddlefish, which could make sense, but I sure won't be testing that theory out. With the last water-based cryptid, I knew I had to talk about this one due to how incredibly odd and unexpected it is. Apparently in October of 1891 in the town of Vevey in Switzerland County, two really strange creatures appeared. I actually have the old article here to go by.
Not gonna lie, I'm a little bit excited that he has the article.
People of the area started to take note of beings that have now gone by the name of mud mermaids. Apparently during this time, two creatures that were said to look like enormous lizards with human features, yellow skin, webbed hands with claws, and were about 5 feet long, began showing up on a sandbar in the middle of the Ohio River.
But ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we have moved from Bigfoot encounters to reptilian encounters. This is interesting.
The article states that on this sandbar, there were many logs resting on it, and when the tide was high, the creatures would emerge and rest on them.
You gotta admit, though, that is a great name, Mud Mermaids. That's definitely a name you don't hear every day, right?
During low tide, these mud mermaids would return to the water and hide in what many thought was an underwater cavern. Not much else is known about these things, other than that they were carnivorous, and left many remnants of mussel shells, fish bones, and animal remains on the sandbar. It probably wouldn't be a far stretch to think that they could make a meal out of humans as well. That is all that is known. There aren't any other reports of them leaving or of an attack. It is highly possible that this was an article written to stir up newspaper sales, but what if it wasn't?
And admittedly, some newspapers did kind of do that when the news was getting slow at times. This is not a common practice as much anymore. Now they just give you straight propaganda, right? You can't even trust the news stream media at all. But that said, this could be, but just the same, like Ben said, what if it's not? There are quite a few other cases we've heard that weren't made up by the newspapers that kind of match what we just heard here, right? So I want to know what you guys think. Go ahead, put a 1 if you think this was just a story made up by the newspaper to drum up business. Go ahead, put a 2 if you think it was a legit story. There really are these reptilian creatures that are feeding in the sandbars of the Ohio River. And go ahead, put a 3 if you're just not sure if it was a fake or real story. Either way. And while we are waiting on those answers to come in, let's go ahead and jump out of the water and onto the land for the land cryptids.
The Pug. The Pug Wedgie.
And of course, on this show, we are no stranger to the Pug Wedgie, right? We've talked about him more than once. A couple weeks ago, or maybe a month or two ago, I do believe we brought that creature up, correct?
This creature is normally found in Native American lore, and as of such, the name loosely means Little Man of the Forest. This being falls more in line with creatures we normally link to the Fae.
I am so sorry, guys. I've told you before, DJ's worst enemy is that mute button there. But anyway, Mandani Mall says, wouldn't that be the first creature the green slime-handed one? I have to agree. Wouldn't that be the better name for that, the Mud Mermaid, right? I like that, Mandani Mall.
Commonly described as being a troll or goblin, it is said to stand between 2 to 4 feet tall, has a rounded face with gray skin, and more often than not, dirty blonde hair. In many cases, they are said to be able to change their shape to anything they wish, but normally take on a form of an animal. They are typically believed to be magic related, and are normally found in sacred places, such as the Mounds State Park in Madison County. According to the lore, these beings were at one time friendly with humans, but something changed, and now it is best to avoid them. As with many of its kind, they are generally seen as morally gray, but even as such, they tend to lean towards being destructive. If angered, they can simply result to causing pranks, but they can also go as far as leading a person to their death, attacking them with their bow and knife, or pushing them off a cliff. In reading about them, they do seem to act like a brownie also, where they can help out around the house. But if angered, they won't simply disappear, they will violently attack the family. In some stories, families that survived these attacks are still haunted by the Pug Wedgie's maniacal evil laughter many years later.
And once again, we have spoken more than once on this show about the Pug Wedgie. And I do think there's a group of little people that lives here with us. The Fae folk or the magic folk of some type. Whether it be the Pug Wedgie or the leprechaun or the fairy or whatever name you would like to give them or whatever type of Fae folk it may be. I truly believe that those do exist. And speaking believing, let's see what you guys believe about that last story that we went over before the Pug Wedgie. Remember, one, if you think it is just a newspaper hoax, go ahead, put a 2 in the chat room, remember, if you think that it was real, and go ahead and put a 3 in the chat room if you were completely unsure. And let's see over here what you guys have said. We have Raider Champion with the 1.2. We got Sandy B with the 3, of course. I love it. It rhymes. Mandani Moss is good now. Yeah, I do apologize, guys. I'm having some technical issues over here. Not a surprise for this show, is it? JoJo says Skinwalker, no man, Pug Wedgie. Tommy Apples with the 2. Definitely a real thing. Sandy B once again with a 3. Catherine M with a 3 again. No worries. I don't mind the 3s. Definitely good to stay on the fence, right? Cannot fault anybody for staying on the fence on anything, keeping an open mind. Isn't it like Man Bear Pig? What was that one? Puppy Monkey Baby. That's what it was. That commercial drove me batty. That Puppy Monkey Baby. No, this is the Pug Wedgie. Sandy B with the 3 T&V championships. Oh, that is true. Sandy B has got 3 TNV championships. He's just trying to make me rhyme stuff and see how far I'll go with it now, right? Anyways, and before we go to break, we have one more cryptid in the state of Indiana.
The final being that I want to talk about falls into a strange realm. At first glance, it is simply an angry spirit, but the more you look into it, there may be a cryptid involved. This one is called the Cable Line Monster, and it is said to roam about in Elkhart on Cable Line Road, also known as Country Road 26 and 11. The story.
So, Champion Sports Nation says he's trying to get a cheap plug there. Go ahead and rewind that just a hair. Says he's trying to get a cheap plug there. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, Tuesday night videos, the first Tuesday of every month. Looks like we've got, 2 weeks coming up before that? Yes, we do. So do make sure you check out the Backstage Lounge for the TNV. You can take Sandy B off the throne. There's your cheap plug there, CSN.
The story is that a man, or sometimes a couple, wrecked their car or motorcycle into a tree on this road. They hit the tree so hard that it is said no body was ever found, and many believe they actually became part of the tree. In most tellings, it is stated that after the wreckage was cleared, you could still see the impression in the tree bark where the body or bodies hit. After some time, the tree was cut down, but people driving on the road have seen the disembodied head of a man looking for his body.
Hey, Ben, we don't get to the ghost stories until the second half. What exactly does this have to do with cryptids?
That is where things get strange. Apparently, in another variation, the accident didn't occur due to bad driving, but because of a scary beast that is said to reside in the forest. With this, reports claim that you won't see a spirit on that road, but rather a headless monster waiting for its victim. I wonder if this would be somewhat linked to the Grafton monster. Not a lot of detail is given about the monster part of this story, but it always is brought up along with the ghosts. Granted, I know this was a short story, but I felt it was different enough to include it.
Now, there are not a lot of paranormal case files that I run across that are cross-disciplinary. Means to say, not a lot of them have UFOs, ghosts, and cryptids in the same one, right? You hear either a case file on UFOs, or a case file on ghosts, or a case file on cryptids. In this particular case, it sounds like the ghost and the cryptids are a little mixed in together here, and perhaps it's a cryptid that has a ghost-like appearance or some type of features that we would consider of a ghostly kind. Therefore, it could be a misidentification of a creature because of the understanding of what we're seeing. In other words, it could be a creature that has the majority of invisibility and perhaps can change the head to different heads, right? But once again, it's not a normal case file. We don't a lot of times find a lot of cross-disciplinary action there. But that music means we have to go ahead and take a network break right here. So my name is Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and you're listening to the Dark Wolf's Den radio show exclusively on Ripon Common Sense Radio Network, the Ripon Rabbit Hole. We'll be right back with the second half after these messages. Don't you touch that dial. That's right.
We gotta stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Oh yeah, Your weekend has begun on a Wednesday night. Hi, everyone. It's AJ, the Ripon Rabbit. Are you enjoying the Dark Wolf's Den radio show, State of Mystery for Indiana, for tonight, Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021? I know I am. If you are and you haven't done so already, please make sure to thumb up that video. Hit that subscribe button and ring that bell. You'll get our notifications every time we go live. We're here every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, bringing you the very best of common sense radio, the Ripon Rabbit Hole. Jerry Hicks and the Dark Wolf's Den Show will return again tomorrow night, Thursday, September 23rd, 2021. Starts at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, as all shows do. Come along with him into the den as he howls at the music of the plants. It's going to be an interesting Thursday night, September 23rd. Then I'll return again Friday night, September 24th. Come along with me as we explore the fascinating history of whistleblowers. It's going to be an unbelievable Friday night. Then Saturday, September 25th, half empty or half full? What say you on that glass? Is it half empty or is the glass half full? We'll explore down the science of that fascinating rabbit hole of that proverbial question. Is the glass half empty or half full? Then we'll end out the weekend right together with you. Sunday night, September 26th, we'll look at donating bodies and organs to science. When you do, just exactly what happens. Some of which may shock you. Nevertheless, we'll end out the weekend right together. Sunday night, September 26th at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. If you haven't done so already, please hop on over to our website, riponrabbithole.com. That's RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. There you can sign up for your exclusive Backstage Pass. It's going to give you unfiltered access down the rabbit hole to where the conversation continues after the show at riponrabbithole.com. It's absolutely free to sign up for, and it always will be. We don't sell, give away, or share your email addresses with anyone. I can guarantee you that. There, you can sign up comfortably and know that you're going to be a welcomed member to our community. It's a lot of fun. Check it out over at riponrabbithole.com. We'll return to tonight's State of Mystery with your host, Jerry Hicks, and the Dark Wolf's Den radio show for Wednesday, September 22nd. You're listening to the Ripon Common Sense Radio Network, the Ripon Rabbit Hole.
Reestablishing multiverse connection.
Hello.
Connection reestablished and secure.
This is My Life DIY, and
Hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my name is Oz.
Hey, everybody. It's AJ, the Ripon Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light,
And you're now listening
to Dark Wolf's Den.
to Dark Wolf's Den Show on Ripon Common Sense Radio.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the Dark Wolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and welcome back to the second half of the Dark Wolf's Den Show for Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, We're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are covering the state of mystery of Indiana. That's right. We have covered a large variety of cryptids in the first half, two of which we've actually covered on this show before, so that was pretty cool. But tonight we're going to carry on that discussion of the state of mystery, and we're going to dig into the ghost stories of Indiana. That's right. There's a lot of haunted territory in such a large state.
Highland Lawn Cemetery. The Highland Lawn Cemetery in Terre, Haute opened in 1884, with the chapel being constructed in 1893 and the bell tower just a year later in 1894.
Real quick, like to give a shout out to Royal Magnolia showing up in the second half. Glad to have you here, Royal Magnolia. Good old friend of mine. Hang out with her a couple years, and fellow Mandela affected community member as well. Also, Earth Daughter, glad to have you in for the second half.
The Highland Lawn Cemetery in Terre Haute opened in 1884, with the chapel being constructed in 1893 and the bell tower just a year later in 1894. The most famous haunting surrounding these grounds is that of the ghostly dog Stiffy Green and his owner John Heinel.
Now, there is something else that we don't get as often, and that is ghost dogs. I have heard stories before, but it's not something that we get a whole lot on here, so this is already an interesting case file. At least to me it is.
When John passed in 1920, Stiffy refused to leave his master's grave. He was even adopted, but continued to break out and return loyally to his true owner's final resting place, refusing to eat or even drink. Eventually, Stiffy passed away, and a local taxidermist preserved him, then placing him in the tomb with his owner. As soon as a few days after the dog's passing, and up until today, many report the ghostly apparitions of John and Stiffy playing happily amongst the headstones. And it is almost common to hear an otherworldly barking coming from the area.
Now, that's kind of cool, I gotta say. Him playing in the graveyard with his dog. Little creepy, but cool. I don't know how I feel about ghost barking. I do good enough with the dogs that I can see barking. Could you imagine trying to get a ghost dog to stop barking? That'd be next to impossible, right? You can't like offer him a treat, right? Shut up, I'll give you a treat. Ghost dogs don't tend to eat treats like normal dogs do, they? But what do you guys think? Do you think this is definitely a case of a man and his ghost dog, or just a misinterpretation of events? Go ahead and put a 1 in the chat room if you think that really is a man and his ghost dog, which I tend to follow. Go ahead and put a 2 in the chat room if you think it was just a prank of some type and still to this day remains a prank of some type. Or go ahead and put a 3 if you're unsure. And we'll move on to our next story, which is, I think these get creepier by the moment. I really do.
As if this wasn't enough, another permanent resident of the cemetery, Martin Sheets, was buried here in 1910, but not before having a telephone installed in his tomb, in case he was accidentally buried alive.
And though to some of you that may sound a little strange, and I can't say I blame you for that, but surprisingly enough, for those that don't know, there were many, many, many people who would be buried alive back in the day, and they would have different things installed like bells or, in this case, a telephone, oddly enough.
Years and years later, his widow was found dead from a stroke, possibly shock, clutching the telephone. When they opened Martin's tomb to lay her body to rest, they found his phone off the hook.
I don't know about you guys, but that story just gives me chills. But before we get into our next case file, let's go ahead and see what you guys said over there in the chat. It looks like we have Catherine M. coming in first on this question with the 1. We got Mandani Mall with the 3, not quite sure. CLA Defense has iffy of, oh, never mind. I hate when that happens. You get upon some that is totally off of the topic. Avi Yarder over here in the Ripon Rabbit Hole chat with the 1 says absolutely was a man and his dog. Raider Champion 2.3. hoax, but not quite sure. Pretty sure it was a hoax. Gotcha. Sandy B, 2.5. Even more unsure, but leaning towards a hoax. Errol Taylor with a 3, definitely unsure. Sitting on that fence heavily. No worries, Raider Champion. When you're going through here, you don't realize until after you've read some stuff, oh, wait, that wasn't what we were talking about. It happens to the best of us, right, AJ? JoJo's over in the Dark Wolf's Den Show chat with the 111. Yes, definitely was a man and his dog. Remember, this is in the same cemetery as the first story we went over. And that just trips me out that the phone was off the hook. I guess it could have fallen off the hook during an earthquake, who knows what, but pretty odd circumstance that she was holding the phone and it fell off the hook, and, I don't know, just kind of weird to me. And one thing that we have noticed quite a bit in this series, at least I've noticed, is that a lot of these college campuses tend to be haunted for whatever reason. We've run across a variety of them in these different states, and Indiana is no different.
Hanover College. Hanover College in Hanover was founded in 1827 by Reverend John Finley Crow in a small log cabin. When Madison University overtook the school in 1843, Crow started his own school, and by the next spring, all students had transferred back to under his watch. Hanover College was officially restored on Christmas Day of that year. To date, many locals, faculty, and students have reported paranormal happenings on the school grounds, including disembodied voices, cold spots throughout the halls, and objects going missing randomly, then days later being found in odd places.
Now, I'm going to stop right there. Normally, I would say, sure, maybe that's most likely a haunting, but that sounds more like the work of fae folk, right? We know the fairies and the little people in the fae folk love to prank and mess with people, especially when it comes to moving objects from one place to another. That is actually quite a common thing amongst the fae folk when they're messing with humans. I've had one mess with me a couple times too. I've told you guys those stories, but this doesn't sound like a haunting to me, more so than a case of little people.
Among the known apparitions here, the spirit of the 12th University president, Albert G. Parker Jr., has been cited on numerous occasions. This isn't surprising, as he loved the school so much that he literally served till the day of his death. He is often seen in Parker Auditorium, which is named after him, and has been known to be accompanied by scratching sounds, disembodied footsteps, and shadows that dart across the walls.
And we have seen this with different hotels that are haunted, but as well as different colleges, we have the presidents or faculty that really cared for the school that sticks around to greet and help those that are still alive. Again, not the first time we've heard something like that in a haunted case file.
The Donner Residence Hall boasts its own terrifying apparition, as many have reported things disappearing from locked rooms, doors opening and closing as if someone invisible is entering, and lights turning on and off by themselves. Lastly, the spirit of Reverend Crow himself has been sighted on numerous occasions, a serene and content look on his face.
And again, it is not that odd that we hear these people that have stuck around at these colleges well after their death. Quite a few of these I'm surprised across the different states that we run into.
Willard Library. Willard Library in Evansville was originally constructed in 1876 from a trust Willard Carpenter started to fund what he called a dream library for the people. He poured all of his resources and love into the building, ensuring that the construction soldiered on through the economic decline, resulting in the library finally being open to the public in 1885. Throughout the years, many who have dared to wander these old rows of books have reported some pretty creepy paranormal disturbances, such as cold spots, orbs in photographs, and the feeling of being watched. These occurrences are believed to stem from an apparition dubbed the Gray Lady, who has been appearing to visitors since a janitor spotted her in 1930.
Another thing we do find quite often in these case files are these orbs, and this one is no different. It mentioned it shows orbs, and another thing that we find is a trope, believe it or not. We have a trope that tends to go across a majority of case files regardless of state, and that is, of course, the lady in white, or in this case, the gray lady.
Though not much is known about who or what she is, she always seems to appear in the same form, a full-bodied figure of a woman shrouded in a gray aura or mist. Sightings are so common here, in fact, that ghost cams have been installed and replaced throughout the years and have caught numerous photos of this otherworldly traveler. If you go searching for her, take caution. Throughout the years, the Gray Lady has been known to get a little physical, hurling books from shelves, typing on typewriters, and even heaving large boxes at those who aren't respectful of her domain.
I don't know about you guys, but this is sounding less like a ghost to me and more like a poltergeist type haunting.
With several of her actions even resulting in the police being called.
Could you imagine the policeman trying to write up a report that he got called out for a ghost because the ghost was throwing things? I don't know if I'd want to be the one to write that report out, right? Not only would I become a laughingstock, my senior officer, I'm sure, would never let that go, right? Definitely not the most fun of investigations to do, I'm sure. That's one thing I would love to find out. I need to go see if I can find some police officers and how many police officers have actually had paranormal occurrences or events on a call. I might have to see if I can't do a show about that. Have to make a note here, put it in the wings, right? But before we close out this episode, we have a couple more case files to go over. But before we get there, I am curious, how many of you would turn in a report as a police officer of a paranormal event, right? Do you think you would turn the report in, or do you think you'd just scrap it and go on your way, right? Go ahead and put a 1 in the chat room if you would do that. If you would report a paranormal event as a police officer, go ahead and put a 2 in the chat room. No way, man, there's no way I would report or write down something like that. Or put a 3 in the chat room if you're not sure, unless that in that situation, exactly what you would do.
Number 7, the French Lick Springs Hotel. The French Lick Springs Hotel in French Lick has a name derived from the natural salt deposits found throughout the area and was dubbed as such when French trappers moved here, paving the way for salt miners as well. The original hotel is estimated to have been built in 1845, with some sources believing it to have been as early as 1840 by brothers Thomas and Dr. William Bowles, who purchased the land in 1832. The hotel has changed ownership and been expanded numerous times throughout the years, and it's believed that the many renovations may have stirred something dark in the foundation.
And this is yet another classic thing that we find in a lot of case files. There's nothing going on until renovations begin, and that tends to upset the spirit world for whatever reason. And so that's not actually exactly a strange part of this case file at all.
Staff and guests report a wide range of supernatural happenings, including orbs and photographs, phantom wafts of perfume, and extreme temperature changes. Many have reported the ghost of a well-dressed man in the lobby who matches the description of one Thomas Taggart, a previous owner who showed the hotel what many consider its best era. But it would appear Thomas isn't alone, as he's also been spotted hosting lavish, ghostly parties in the ballroom and even riding a spectral horse down the hallway in the middle of the night, waking guests with loud hoofsteps. More disturbingly, in an undisclosed room, a bride is said to have killed herself while in the bath, leaving a gruesome red stain. Many have reported hearing disembodied sobbing associated with this haunting. And even though the tub has been replaced multiple times, the stain keeps coming back.
And again, incredibly creepy there. I've read many case files where you do have these phantom stains or stains that won't go away. There's one case file I know of, I'll be darned if I remember where it is, but it's handprints that no matter how many times you get rid of them, they stick around. And speaking of sticking around, let's see what you guys sticking around in the chat over there had to say about that last question. 1, if you would report a paranormal instance as a police officer. 2, if you would just turn the other way and not even write a report. And 3, if you don't know unless you're in that circumstance. Let's see what you guys said. Pretty wide selection of answers over here, it looks like. We got Mandenny Mull with a 3, not quite sure what he would do. Catherine M with the 2, definitely would not be reporting that. Errol Taylor with the 3, unsure. Raider Champion with the 4, only if it was directly tied to a crime. And wouldn't that be even more fascinating, right? The crime spree ghost, right? Earth Daughter, wait. As a police officer, a 2 definitely would not turn a report in. However, to a police officer, oh yeah, she said she would definitely give a paranormal report without question. Mandani Mall, the ghost dog, would be easy to hoax. That's fair. Who else we got here? If I got the numbers correct, says Earth Daughter. Over in the Dark Wolf's Den show chat room, JoJo's says 2 definitely would not report that. She says most officers have paranormal reports, so that's interesting. My Life DIY with the ones definitely would turn in a paranormal report without question. You write it up as a prowler, it could be a kitty, says Tim. Oh, no, that's fair. He goes on to say, you just turned it in, no one pays attention anyway. It's only when you lie that you get in trouble. I don't know if I would lie. I may just, leave the whole thing out or dismiss the call, if you will. If you are a police officer, in all seriousness, if you are a police officer, I want to hear from you. If you have a paranormal report, I would love to hear it. My Life DIY, if you could drop those same links over in the Ripon Rabbit Hole chat, I'd very much appreciate that. Over in the Dark Wolf's Den show chat, we have the Facebook group as well as the Facebook page for the Dark Wolf's Den show. The group is more of the private group. The page is, of course, an open public page. If you have a story that is paranormal, especially if you're a police officer, I want to hear from you. Come on over, drop me your story, and I will gladly put it on air with your permission. Again, I want to hear any police officer who has had anything like this occur. I think that would be absolutely fascinating. Perhaps even get one or two on the show at some time. Once again, go over to our Facebook page, the Dark Wolf's Den show page, or the private group. Both should be coming up. Earth Daughter's dropping the links over there in the chat now, as well as My Life DIY in the Ripon Rabbit Hole chat, and they are in the Dark Wolf's Den chat as well. I would really appreciate you anybody contacting me. That would be great. But I have a question now for everyone out there, whether you're on YouTube or in the multiverse or listening on your radio. What do you think? Do you think that Indiana definitely is a paranormal state of mystery, from the cryptids to the amount of ghosts that we cover? Do you think it qualifies as a state of mystery, or do you think that we're barking up the wrong tree? In the end, ladies and gentlemen, all you can do is look at the evidence, apply a little common sense, and
you be the judge.
That's right, little man. You be the judge, right? We got to close it out. That's right. That's it for this episode of the Dark Wolf's Den show for Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, the den may be closing, but don't you worry. The weekend fun is only just begun. That's right. Tomorrow, Thursday, September 23rd, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, I will be back with an all-new episode of the Dark Wolf's Den radio show. That's right. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about the music of the plants, following up from our Sunday night episode with Miss Cynthia Sue Larson. We spoke a little bit about that, and I found that such a fascinating topic, and the audience seemed to be so intrigued by it that I figured we'd go ahead and give it its own show. So that will be tomorrow, Thursday, September 23rd, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, exclusively on the Ripon Rabbit Hole .com, Ripon Common Sense Radio, and the Dark Wolf's Den show, of course. And then on Friday, our buddy AJ the Ripon Rabbit will be back to carry out the weekend the rest of the way for you guys. He will be back with an all-new episode of the Ripon Rabbit Hole live show on Friday, talking about whistleblowers. That's right. Whistleblowers are actually a very important piece of the fabric of corporations and America and the way we run things, because, with the whistleblowers, that's how the information gets out of the wrongdoings and things going on that are sometimes very atrocious. And there are supposed to be laws that cover these guys, and I'm sure AJ will talk about all that and more on Friday, September 24th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then on Saturday, AJ will be back with another episode of the Ripon Rabbit Hole live show, September 25th, 2021. 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. He'll be discussing whether the glass is half full or half empty. Of course, we know the conundrum there. There's people that look at the world in both ways. How is it for you? Half full or half empty? Well, while you guys are arguing about it, I'm going to drink it, so you better hurry up. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that'll be on Saturday, September the 25th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then he'll be back on Sunday, September 26th, 2021, to round out the weekend right with one last show of the Ripon Rabbit Hole live show. That's right, he's going to be talking about donating your body to science. Is that something you would do? Is that something you have already done by marking your driver's license, right? I know my dad used to say, when we would ask him, are you going to donate your body to science? He said, heck, the parts didn't work that well for me. Why in the world would I give them to someone else? So, to each his own on that, and AJ will be talking about all of that on Sunday, September 25th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, exclusively on Ripon Common Sense Radio Network, the Ripon Rabbit Hole. Speaking of the Ripon Rabbit Hole, make sure you hop on over there and make sure you sign up for our Backstage Pass. That is going to allow you all the access to all the fun that we have there every single day. Like the groups section over there, we've got some amazing groups. We've got headlines that keep you updated 24/7 and 24/7. Also, speaking of, that is my favorite place to hang out, the 24/7 Backstage Lounge. Earlier in the show, we mentioned the Tuesday night videos. Mr. Raider Champion over there hosts that the first Tuesday of every month, exclusively in the Backstage Lounge. That is not a show that is broadcast. We have thought about recording them, but definitely come on over and check that out. The Backstage Lounge is where I'm going to be right after the show, as well as a good majority of the rabbits also. So if you'd like to join us, feel more than free to come on over and say hello. That's right. Also, while you're over there, make sure you scroll on down to the bottom of the page and hit that big red button at the bottom of every page that says record. Down there, you can record as a 30-second greeting, and we'll go ahead and put it on the air for you. One thing I would like to know is if you are going to be dressing up for Halloween, or if your kids are going to be, I would love to know what your costumes are going to be this year. Is there a certain specific costume you guys are going for? Is there a big one? Because I'm really not that big in the pop culture right now. Is there one that is a sellout that you guys would like? Let me know what you're going to be or dressing your kid as for Halloween. Go ahead and hit that big red button down at the bottom of the page, and I'll be waiting, ladies and gentlemen, in the studio. On that note, my name is Jerry Hicks, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of AJ the Ripon Rabbit, Walt House, Chick Mandela Effect, Michael Musco, everyone at Ripon Common Sense Radio Network, as well as Tom Bayless and Red Shed Studios with this amazing music. Get down with it, Tom. That's right. If you're looking for a custom soundtrack for your next project, make sure you check out Red Shed Studios. Links in the description. On behalf of all these folks, as well as our amazing mod team, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jerry Hicks, and you've been watching the Dark Wolf's Den radio show exclusively on Ripon Common Sense Radio Network. And remember, until next time, stay awake, but dare to dream. Good night, everybody. Yeah. That's right.
I'm lost and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner, is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a